love all of our players. Freddie, nice guy.
Look, the crack of that bat. Nothing more beautiful than that.
Baseball is such an important part of our family.
That's the beautiful game of baseball right there. You win some, you truly lose some.
I just want somebody to talk Dodgers to me. Someone actually left a comment on one of our videos and wrote, like, love the podcast. I can't wait for each episode. And then hashtag, not so much Adam. Oh. Anyway, welcome back to Talk Dodgers to Me. I am so thrilled to have this woman on today. Our guest is Jean Fruth. She is a sports photographer, filmmaker, creator of Grassroots Baseball, and currently the director and producer of the new documentary See Her, Be Her, coming out between games 2 and 3 of the World Series on the MLB Network. I had so much fun talking to her, and Adam can tell you I was really nervous for this one because it really meant a lot to me to get this right, to ask important questions, and to shine a light on all that she is doing because it's truly amazing. So I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did. Talk Dodgers to me. I was seeing that you have been all over the place, all different cities promoting this documentary, See Her, Be Her. And as exhausting as it must be, I'm sure your drive to get this in people's faces and know it's coming is helping you get through it.
Yeah, I mean, for it to be here and people to be interested and say, hey, you have time to talk about this? Well, I better, right? I mean, after 3 years of in the making, I'm so excited that people want to talk about it, want to, see it. I mean, it's been a good reception. Women's sports right now, I mean, our timing is very good. And the success of other women's sports is really good for women's baseball. Because I think women's baseball, we're at the very early stages, and I know the women want the success that basketball has had in recent years, soccer, even now we have a women's professional hockey team.
That's so cool. I'm so happy to have you on today. And our listeners will actually be familiar with you from our episode with Katie Firestone, who connected us.
Yeah, Katie Firestone. I mean, talk about a woman in baseball. Those are the women, and Katie is certainly one of them. So there's planes flying over my house right now. It's Fleet Week.
Oh,
and
I
my
can't hear
dog
anything.
is out of control. Like, yeah, it's luckily you can't hear it, but they seem like they're charging right in. That'll be the last time I bring that up. But Katie Firestone, going back to Katie, I met her a few years ago because she played in the women's college club championship in Compton, California. And like, people don't even know that there's women college teams out there. And she's just a leader. She was a coach, she was a player, and she's just one of those trailblazers that other girls are going to be very happy to look up to and see her and say, wow, see her, be her,
Exactly.
what she does. And she's an inspiration. So yeah, I'm so glad.
She really is. I mean, not only did she really open my eyes to women's baseball and just the amazing things that she's done and happily connected me with you and a few other women, but she's actually connecting with listeners of the podcast. And today I talked to one of the girls and she talked to Katie on the phone, and Katie's helping her with her application for the Take the Field event in December.
It's great.
It just makes me really happy and proud that I have a platform that can connect all of us in this way and help elevate women's baseball, which is incredible to me. But something Katie said in our interview that you brought up, she said that she felt like women's baseball is trending in the way that women's basketball is and how big it is right now. Is that
good?
Kind
I'm glad
of how
that
you feel?
said that. Yeah. Oh, I really do feel that way. I mean, those successes, and when you look at women's basketball, women's basketball started off and it was, is this we're doing a women the favor, is it a charity? And now look at the numbers of women's basketball. Look at just the revenue stream that's happening, the fan base, and you need to start somewhere. And it certainly wasn't always that way, but that's where it is now. And I do believe, and we're about to have a cat go.
Look at this cutie behind you.
God, yes. He's afraid of the of that.
I
You
grew
know,
up with a golden retriever, actually. Is that a golden retriever?
yes, it's a lab, but I mean a golden retriever, and he's wearing a cone because he has a hurt,
Aw.
so he's got one of those cones on, so he looks kind of silly right now. We'll take the cone.
That's okay. If he needs it. What's his name?
His
He
name
or
is
she?
Tyler.
Hey,
Yeah,
Tyler.
yeah. Now he's happy.
There's actually an office dog here, Butter, who is tiny,
Oh,
tiny little thing. But just to give you a little background, I used to work here, and they've been so supportive of me and all of my endeavors and allowed me to continue to do the podcast here. And then I got Adam, who works here, that's helping with the podcast, and he's been amazing and teaching me a lot about it, as you were talking about learning
it
so
makes
much doing the
it makes
documentary.
Yeah, because when I was looking at your podcast, I was like, wow, this is a step above, just the way it's produced, the sound, how you guys are. It really makes a difference. So I really appreciate it. So yeah, it's very cool, and of
Way
course,
better than me doing it in my apartment in Santa Monica.
well, you still have the same great content because you're great. So you could do it anywhere, but why not do it like that? Right. It's
Well,
really
thank you.
awesome.
Wow, you're getting all the cameos from
Yeah.
people because
He was
it
like,
is the work day. But we make it work. And I think it's funny. Sometimes people are like, there's people walking behind you, right? And I'm like, yeah, just.
I like it when they like peek in and go, "Ooh, what's going on in there?" Yeah.
I know they're intrigued. But I kind of want to go back to what led you to where you are now. So, what made you love baseball? Have you always loved it?
Oh yeah, well, baseball. Okay, so that's way back. Yep. Baseball, I grew up in a hockey family, more of a hockey fans growing up in New York, but my grandfather
Oh,
was a Mets fan and he listened to Mets games on the radio. So I would listen to a lot of Mets games, and we were kind of, if we were going to have a baseball team, it was the Mets. We were Mets fans in New York. And then fast forward, moved to San Francisco and started shooting sports. And I fell in love with baseball. I was shooting all sports for local newspapers, high school sports, youth sports, college sports, but baseball was definitely a love. I shot the 49ers for a long time, San
wow.
Francisco Giants, A's. Um, but baseball just has a way, it's to me very special because it's generational. It connects generations, and the history of baseball just runs so deep, and there's just, as a sports photographer, I feel like it's so much more than what the action is on the field. And your
Oh,
podcast
absolutely.
really shows that. Like, think about all the stories that you tell. I mean, very little of it has to do with the action. I mean, the action's exhilarating for sure, but it's the stories around baseball that are interesting and run deep. And
Absolutely.
yeah, now here we are talking about women's baseball. So that's how it started for me. And then this project, we formed Grassroots Baseball, which is a not-for-profit, and we were doing a project along Route 66. And it was just at the end of the project, and we had a book that was coming out, and we hardly had any girls in the book or women in the book. It was like a girl on a little league team, just a girl here and there, but not much. And it was kind of sad that we didn't have girls represented. We reached out to Baseball for All in the Bay Area and said, "Do you happen to have any girls' games going on?" And we knew that was the program that had all girls baseball teams. And they had one in Santa Monica, where you are right now.
Oh, wow.
So I shot my first all girls baseball game in Santa Monica at the end of the project, and which is at the end of Route 66. So it was perfect. And it was an experience I'll never forget. The energy that these girls had, they were around 13, 14 years old. They were like eighth grade, about to go into high school, and they're all telling me stories. Oh, I'm going into high school, but they want me to switch to softball. They won't allow girls to play on the baseball team, or I'm going to try out, but people are saying I'm not going to make it because I'm a girl, or they're going to try to stay on an all girls team. But a lot of them were sad because baseball was stopping for them. There was no outlet for them to go further. And the energy that they had, and it was the first time that I got to see girls playing with other girls, and it was very different experience because when it's a girl on an all boys team, you get to the game and they say, "Oh, there's a girl on this team. Oh, do you
Mhm.
see the girl? Oh, look, the girl,
Mhm.
she may pitch today. Oh, the girl's pitching." And there's all these comments about the girl. Is she good? Is she bad? Scrutinizing. And I think, my gosh, that poor girl, right? She's just the girl. then when you shoot all girls, now they're just all athletes, and they look to the left and right of them and they see somebody that looks just like them. They're relaxed, they're playing hard. This game was played just like I could have been watching 13-year-old boys. Would have been the same level of play, maybe better pitching, better control, but hard at it, strong baseball, and it was very exciting. And that's when I decided now he's really in on it.
He's going to be the star of the show here.
You really like that. Now he's
Face.
smiling. Yeah. So that's when we decided, you know what, this is our next project. It's time. It's so timely. Let's tell the stories of girls and women in baseball. We didn't know at that point where it was going to go, and it became this massive project, this international project, because we realized it's not about the United States. It's really an international, worldwide project. There's 25 countries that have national teams, which is really encouraging for the future of the game. And there's high-level baseball played all around the world by women and girls. So a lot of encouragement. And so then it became this project, and it was going to be small videos. And then it was, well, no, this should be a documentary. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And so here we are. So it's exciting that we're premiering and we're screening. And so good stuff's happening.
Wow. I mean, there's so much I want to ask from everything you just said, but I want to start off with, I want to dissolve misconceptions about what the mission is for women's baseball, because after Katie's episode, I was getting a lot of comments, and I think sometimes people are afraid to ask questions to sound stupid. So I want to really explain it to people, because they were saying, we don't want a woman on an MLB team or like things like that. And like, that's not what we're trying to make happen. We're trying to create a league for women. So is there anything that you could maybe help explain to people about what the mission is for women's baseball?
Yeah, I mean, really, the mission of the documentary is to give visibility, because the more visibility, the more opportunities are going to come from that. Whether I'm giving the visibility with a documentary, you're giving the visibility with your podcast, the more visibility, the better. Because we're starting at a very low point in a lot of ways. People who see this or hear us, they may not even know that women play baseball, never mind at that level. When I say, oh, I'm going to shoot a women's baseball game, they go, oh, cool. You mean softball? I'm like,
Yep.
oh, no, I mean baseball. So it's, yeah, I mean, will there be a woman on a Major League Baseball team at some point? Sure. I mean, I'm sure there will be, but you're right. That is not the point. The point is that there should be more opportunities for girls to play at a low level. Now, Little League is starting to really embrace girls playing baseball. They just had their first big tournament at Williamsport. There was never a girls tournament at Williamsport. First one just
Amazing.
happened. So that's just terrific news. And of course, Baseball for All has been doing their thing for a long time. Major League Baseball now has programs where they're doing MLB Develops and the Grit Series and Breakthrough Series. They have quite a few different programs where they're bringing girls up in the game. And it's just a matter of time. And then the college club championships, the more women college plays baseball, well, then eventually you'll see it. You'll see college, women's teams. It's just going to take time. You have to start somewhere. There's always a barrier, and women like Katie Firestone, they're breaking those barriers. And then it happens, and then the flood comes in and the girls will come. So, I mean, so that's what it's about. It's about creating opportunities, whether it's at the kids level or all the way to the women's professional level.
Well, even I listened to something you said that in countries like Japan and South Korea, there are women getting paid to play baseball.
Yep. Yeah. Japan has women's baseball teams. And I mean, and the women there, I mean, they're not done either. There's progress, but, certainly a long way to go. Some of the women get paid, like our Shiro in the film Sato. Well, she's the best women's baseball player in the world, arguably.
Wow.
She gets paid, but not all of her teammates get paid. So the young ones that are just coming in, they're just starting, there's not funds for them yet, but it's growing. There's 50 women's teams in South Korea, but they're not getting paid. Only the men's teams are getting paid. but it's a start because they have those teams, the level of play, but it does need to shift, right? Because if you
Mhm.
have to be a firefighter and a baseball player, it's very hard to do both if you're trying to have a full career and play baseball. And of course, the only woman here in the United States getting paid to play baseball is Kelsey Whitmore, and she's
Mhm.
playing on an all men's team. And that's hard to do.
Yeah, actually, could you talk about her a little bit? And I mean, the courage, and I'm sure the slack she gets and comments about what she's doing, but she's really a champion in women's baseball.
She really is. And she holds it so together. I mean, it's all of these women that are in the film from all these different countries. They have very different backgrounds and come from very different places, but their stories, the adversity they faced, and what they had to do to get to the level that they're at, and the sacrifices they had to make are all very similar. And Kelsey is the greatest example of that. I mean, she made it all the way up to playing professional baseball, and she's the first woman to play in an Atlantic League game. So she's the only woman getting paid to play, and she's playing on an all men's team. So she's
Wow.
playing against, men who were pitching average in the 90s. And that's hard to do. And she's certainly holding her own. But could you imagine? And I got to see Kelsey play on the Ferry Hawks. That's where, when I first met her, she was playing there. Now she plays for the Oakland Ballers, and she's just terrific there and getting a lot of playing time and playing very well. But then you see her play on the women's USA team, and you do see a different Kelsey. You see a Kelsey that's maybe more relaxed, and
Hmm.
there's women on both sides of her. And not to mention, you see a Kelsey hitting 3-run homers, right?
Wow.
Because she's playing against other women.
That fires me up.
Amazing. Yeah. The USA women's team is such a wow. I'm excited for you to see the film just to see them. And they play a power game, and it's such fun baseball. Their energy. I mean, if we have what I say, when we have a women's league, it's not going to be charity. It's going to be great baseball that people are going to want to watch.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait to see this. I do want to go back a little bit because I'm actually from New Jersey. So I related to a lot of what you said in the beginning about being from New York and having a family of Mets fans, because I do too. And
Okay.
they get a kick out of me being a Dodger fan, but choosing to book a one-way flight and move here when I was 21 and being here for 13 years, moving to LA and becoming a Dodger fan really connected me with the city. But I love the passion for baseball, and I fell in love with baseball because I love to learn about the players and kind of their stories and who they are. And then I fell in love with the game. So I love so much of what you said about the storytelling, because that seems to be what you do through your photography, and even how I read that you kind of take time out of each trip you take to go to the Little League series and take photos of them. But you started in portrait photography. So how did you kind of move into sports photography? Was that the goal, or did that kind of just happen?
Yeah, so bravo to you for doing your homework, first of all. That's very impressive. Yes. So I did start in portrait photography with two women, but I wasn't really my goal or path. It was just where the opportunity was. But I'm very grateful that I became a portrait photographer first, because you learn how to connect.
Mhm.
Taking a portrait. It's probably one of the hardest things to do, is especially if you have a very little time, like we do in sports, where you have to take it and move on. I was working for the Hall of Fame, and they'd say, you have 2 minutes with him.
Oh my gosh.
Really? But you learn, okay, what am I going to do when you have a plan ahead of time? But it's a connection. A good portrait
Mhm.
requires a connection. So having that certainly helped me tell my stories in sports. So yes, started there, but then moving into baseball, like you, it's about the stories. So starting at that low level of shooting little league games, shooting youth sports, but now going back to it and being able to shoot it in this whole other way. So when I shoot a little league game now, if I'm in Japan, I'm shooting the World Baseball Classic, I take time to go shoot a little league game, but I'm shooting them just like I'm shooting the World Series. I have a plan. I'm making them look heroic. The only difference, or one of the great differences, is usually I have more access and the pictures are better. The backgrounds, I pick my time of day of when I want to shoot. when you shoot at Dodger Stadium and you shoot a playoff game, it's going to be at night because we have to maximize TV views. But if I'm shooting a little league game, it could be 4 in the afternoon, and then you get this beautiful light. So yeah, I'm always connected to the grassroots game, the amateur game, and it's the same for the women, shining a light on these women and telling their story. What stories they have. I mean, it's
Oh my gosh.
endless. Yeah. And it's, courageous, and people are interested, I mean, look, Billie Jean King, one of your Dodgers.
Yep, I was gonna ask you about her because I do have to remember this is a Dodgers podcast.
Right. Yes.
And Billie Jean King is an executive producer on See Her Be Her, right?
Yep. We asked her if she would join us, and it was great because it took her all of 2 seconds to say yes. She jumped right in, and it was like, well, I mean, it was an honor because here she
Wow.
was asking a million questions, and it wasn't like her slapping her name on something. It was, okay, where are we at? What's our goal? How do we give these women visibility? Tell me how to help. I mean, and she knows the drill, right? I mean, sure, the greatest, woman tennis player of all time, but really, what surpasses that is her advocacy for gender equality. I mean, and she's all about equality in women's sports, and she wants women. Well, the nicest thing, the sweetest thing she said is, most important is you have to be able to dream.
Oh, I love that. I just got the
Yeah.
chills.
So it's yeah, and so she was talking about, Billie Jean went to her first baseball game, and she was really excited, and she looked on the field, and she said her excitement went to sadness, and it was because she realized she could never play baseball because she's a girl. Now, of course, she went on to be the best tennis player, in the world. So it worked out well for her in that way. But she said everybody should have the opportunity to dream, and every girl should have the opportunity to dream. And it's really, I mean, look at you, right? So girls can look at you and say, wow, I could do a podcast. I could be, for the highest level of baseball. I could do a podcast about the Dodgers. But if they don't see you, they can't dream to be you. And so you're trailblazing in women's baseball space. And, they see photographers, they go to the Baltimore Orioles and they see a head groundskeeper as a woman. Like, that's a wow. Like, and a little girl goes to that game and says, whoa, she looks like me. I could do that. Maybe I want to do that job. And it's the same thing with
Absolutely.
baseball, and they should be able to dream. And certainly when they get started, someone like a Katie Firestone who then plays, and then there's no more opportunities, and she's told she has to switch and she can't continue to play because she's a woman, that shouldn't happen. There's still too many times where you're saying, no, you won't, no, you can't, no, you shouldn't.
Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted to ask you about like starting in portrait photography and how you got into sports photography is because, I talk to a lot of women. I actually have a business as a life coach. And a lot of people are afraid to do something because they don't know where to start. And sometimes you just got to start somewhere, and you have to trust your journey that it's going to take you to where you want to go, but you just got to try.
Yeah. Yeah, you really do have to try, and you have to set the goals high. I mean, all of these women are examples of that. Same for you, right? Same for me. At the time when I was doing sports photography, I mean, certainly on the West Coast, there were no women on the sidelines of the football games. There were no women in the photo walls. Luckily for me, I was working with all men, but they did become mentors to me. They did accept me, and they did help my career. But that wouldn't have been the case in all places. So I mean, I certainly had moments where it wasn't fun and stories that were not fun, but those make you stronger. And if it doesn't make you quit, it fuels you. And there was
Absolutely.
no way I was quitting. So that wasn't going to even be an option. But now it makes me so proud to see all the women on the sidelines, all the women photographers. I know, when you go to Dodgers, look at all the women. I mean, John Sue, who's been there for 40 years.
40, I think he celebrated 40 years this year.
Yeah, he's
Incredible.
incredible. But look, I mean, he's hiring women. right? I mean, there's, women photographers there and women videographers and, live content creators and more and more women on the field, women off the field, executives. And so, yeah, I agree with you is that, you have to just go for it, and just because it hasn't been done and the barrier is there, barriers are made to be broken, be the one that breaks it. Yeah.
Sometimes, I kind of battle with living like being very present, but also be forward thinking to plan, because especially with this podcast, it's been building some momentum, and I don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. Like a couple weeks ago, we got an opportunity to go on ESPN radio, and we only found out about that the day before. So like, believe in yourself, stick with, like, be authentic to who you are, and the sky's the limit. So it's just I feel really happy and proud right now to be having a conversation like this. And even just the title alone, See Her, Be Her. I know for me, just to give you a little bit of my background, when Katie told me about the documentary, like, and I just heard the title, I like immediately almost got emotional. Like, so many thoughts are coming to my mind. And my dad died when I was 16, and my mom was a stay-at-home mom. She had been in fashion before I was born, but she took over his business, a moving company, moving and storage. And watching her do that, and really not just take over his company, but go from Rob's widow to Cindy, the CEO, and build the company to what she believes in and what she values, and creating a culture that she's really proud of, truly changed the lens that I view life through. And I went from imagining things in my head to really believing I could make them come true. And I'll never forget the moment that it changed for me, and hearing her on the phone, just this boss lady with the power in her voice. And, just this week, she created a culture of giving, and that's so important to her. And she's using her warehouse and resources to collect items to help people in the hurricane. And her goal was to fill one truck with diapers, feminine products, blankets, water, things like that. She's filled 3, and now her movers are driving them to people in need. And I just am so proud to talk about her and to have her as my inspiration. And when I think of See Her, Be Her, that's my mom to me. And women like that who, I don't know where I would be if I didn't see that happen.
Yeah. Wow. Well, it explains a lot of who you are now. The puzzle comes together quite. It's very interesting. Yeah. It's like, okay, how did your ambition and the way you are, and just, I mean, you have a podcast that's a step above, everything else that I've been seeing out there. And it's like, wow, look how well, okay, well, we have to give Cindy credit here. So
it's funny because she gets so nervous. My sister and I are both entrepreneurs, and it makes my mom so nervous. And I'm like, Mom, you're the one that inspired us to dream big, to be who we are, and try and make a change.
Right. I mean, Kelsey's, she wrote an essay for the book that we're doing, a companion book. And she said, if your dreams aren't scary, they're not big enough.
Right. Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. And so, yeah, look at you. So I know, even though your mom's nervous, she's also, because she wants, of course, you to succeed. She's also couldn't be more proud, of course.
I know. She just sometimes, I do dream big, and I have a little bit of delusion sometimes, but I think you need to. And she brings me back to reality. So does Adam.
Keep the delusions though. The delusions are good, right? You never know. Like you say, you don't know where it's going to be. So I'd say keep them high. Why not? Well, why can't you? Somebody's going to. Why not you?
Right? Exactly. That's a great just message alone to take across from this. But how did you start Grassroots Baseball?
It was at a time where you get to this point, like if you have some success in your career and you're doing well, and I was at a point where giving back was kind of where, like, just like what your mom is doing, we're probably close to the same age. And so giving back for me was, if you're fortunate enough to have some success, you feel a responsibility and you want to, and giving back feels great. Going into it, we didn't know where we were going. So I reached out to Jeff Idelson, who was retiring as the president of the Baseball Hall of Fame. And Grassroots Baseball, my first book just came out. And I said, hey, I'm looking to grow Grassroots Baseball into something bigger, into a give back, into a not-for-profit. Would you be interested in joining me since you're retiring? And he said, yes, lucky for me. And so we started Grassroots Baseball, and we started along Route 66. Why not? And giving back at the youngest level. So we introduced baseball to kids in underprivileged communities. We worked with boys and girls clubs, and it was really just a great 3-year project of doing clinics with kids. Each kid got a new Rawlings baseball glove and ball, thanks to sponsors. There was a lot of sponsors involved in making it work. But the idea behind it is not baseball. It could have been any sport. We love baseball, of course, so it had to be baseball. But it's kids who play a sport have better outcomes, right? They have better outcomes in health, better outcomes in school, and better outcomes in life. And we know that, and that's been proven. And it's better than staying home and playing video games. So the idea is a healthier life and healthier choices through sports. And after that program, that's when we got at the end of that program is when we decided that women was shining a light on women was next. And, a different initiative with a different goal, but equally as important. So that's how the not-for-profit started. And I have to say, giving back, and, you can give back in a lot of ways, right? You can volunteer, but when you're giving back in your craft, and so I give back in photography and teach, and then give back in the sport that I love, it's so gratifying and so satisfying. I probably get more out of it even than I'm giving in that way. It feels really good to be able to be here. And it's the same thing with the project. I get to make beautiful pictures and work on my craft and chase beautiful light, but doing it with a cause and surrounding your work with purpose is, I'm lucky to be able to do it.
That's amazing. How has the MLB been supportive of the documentary?
Well, airing it between games 2 and 3 of the World Series couldn't be more supportive because if we're trying to create a platform and we're trying to create visibility for women, the people who can do that are the people who love baseball, right? And so who's watching baseball? Well, everybody's watching during the World Series. So it gives us the biggest audience that can make a difference for the women. So in that way, extremely supportive, and promoting it, and more important than helping us, they're already doing so many things for women in baseball, and that continues to grow. And, you're not looking for perfection, and things take time, and things can't happen overnight, but we're looking for progress, and we're seeing progress, right? And so their programs, the things that they're doing for women, hiring Veronica Alvarez as the first woman ambassador for girls and women in baseball. I mean, that's
Wow.
fantastic. That's supportive. So, yeah.
And I know there's Hall of Fame players, including Cal Ripken Jr. involved in the film. Ichiro Suzuki, I know, is a real champion of women's baseball. Jimmy Rollins and Chan-Ho Park, former Dodgers. Got to throw them in there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that support, it was, we didn't know, like, looking into it, like wondering, okay, who's out there? Who are the men legends who are interested in supporting? And it was so encouraging and exciting to see Ichiro Suzuki, of course, having, he has a men's team. They play against the the girls' high school all-star team, but he hosts the game at the Tokyo Dome.
Wow.
And it gets sold out. So these girls are playing, with 40,000 people in the stands. Like, how wonderful. And he says, hey, this is serious. This is not for fun. This is to give them a platform, and this is to give them visibility and to raise the level of play. And he said, and it's going to take, he said, it's not going to happen naturally. It takes like-minded people who have a passion to come together to make change. I mean, and that's impressive. Cal Ripken Jr. tells a great story of his sister, who was such an athlete, still is, but and wanted desperately to play baseball, but had no
Wow.
outlet. So she wanted to play like her father, like her brothers, but she had to play softball because there was no baseball for girls. And he said he would have loved to have seen his sister Ellie play baseball. And so you see all these stories, Chan Ho Park and him supporting women and women in South Korea, and he connected with our Shiro there. And so it's just, and he was so moved by her story of working. She was studying, well, I can't tell you about, well, I could share a little bit, but she's studying to be a Navy pilot and she's
Wow.
playing baseball. I mean, these women are strong. They're like you. They're the next generation. I'm so excited for them. They're taking over.
That's amazing.
Your mom and I will sit back and just watch the show.
You'd love her. She'd love
But
you. I was telling her about
I,
you yesterday on the
I
phone.
want to meet her. She's in New York.
She's in New Jersey.
She's still in New Jersey. Okay. So yeah.
Yeah,
So you could very well be having your Mets. Ooh, that's very interesting. It's gonna happen. We'll see.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm used to them complaining about the Mets. I follow the Mets just so I could keep up with them for my cousins. But now, I mean, we'll see what happens tonight, but game on.
Yeah. Oh, it's gonna be game on. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But I like what you say. It's really about players more than teams. Of course, you're Dodgers now, but these players move around and you have relationships with them and you root for them and they move from one place to another. And so it's the whole sport that you end up loving. Yeah. When the Mets are playing the Dodgers, I don't know what I might have to go to Cindy's house and watch it there.
She roots for the Dodgers. She roots for the Yankees. The Mets for my other side of the family. When she's in Chicago, she roots for the Cubs. So, she's a team player.
She's a peacekeeper.
She likes the hats. She has a nice baseball hat collection.
Mets have good colors too. It's
But you're
true.
in San Francisco, right? You're
Yes.
in
Yeah.
enemy territory.
Yes, well, the enemy is sleeping now, right? The Giants certainly didn't make it. I started with the Oakland A's, so that I always have a, place in my heart for them. And of course,
Yeah, that is it's heartbreaking.
yeah,
Really
it really
heartbreaking what happened this year.
yeah, yeah. So a new chapter. We'll see. Hopefully new things come, something good comes out of it down the road. But yeah, certainly sad to see that come to an end from 1968. It's a long time. Yeah.
So are the Mets your team?
Oh, I really don't have a team anymore. I am like a love of baseball, and I'll root for the underdog at times, but it's really now so many friends, a lot of coaches from that move around. Bruce Bochy goes to Texas, so those are my friends, wherever they go. And
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
so yeah, I love ballparks though. Dodger Stadium is definitely one of my favorite ballparks. I will say that the way the history
Yeah.
is preserved there. And even when all the upgrades happen, you have a woman architect, Jana Marie Smith, who's incredible. Oh, have her on the podcast. Have you had her yet?
No, actually, I wrote her down.
Yeah, yeah. She would be
Yeah,
great.
please, if you have any suggestions
Yeah.
or ideas for me, send them my
Oh,
way.
she'll blow you away. The first time I met her, she told me she was working for the Orioles at the time. She's done, remodels on all these ballparks, so many of them, but her work is incredible. The details, just preserving the
Yes.
history, making.
She spoke at the Women in Sports event at Dodger Stadium last year. And that's kind of what kicked off this whole podcast because I just went. I bought a ticket just to see what opportunities there were and was so encouraged by the women around me hearing me talk so passionately about baseball. But she was one of the speakers there. And
uh,
it was so interesting to me what she does.
Oh yeah, you have a conversation with her. The first time I reached out to her, I was working for the Hall of Fame at the time, and I had to just document Camden Yards. And I said, "Oh, since you remodeled it, could you just like give me a few things that maybe I would shoot?" And I was so blown away by the details that go into making a ballpark, remodeling a ballpark. She's in the book. She has a well, I mean, she's just when you talk to her, you'll see just how passionate she is. Even the experience, what she's giving the Dodgers for the outfield. I mean, it used to be the bleacher seats were the cheap seats. You were
Mm-hmm.
trapped there. It was where you didn't want to be. Now the outfield of Dodger Stadium is the most fun place to be.
You could
Everybody wants
catch a
to be out
ball worth $1 million if Shohei hits it.
That's true. You could do that too. But I mean, during was it World Series? Yeah, or playoffs, mariachi bands. I shot in the
Oh
outfield.
my gosh, I love it.
I wanted to stay in the outfield the whole time. I mean, and all the little details she does, having the women's room, like, oh, and the men's room, having it in different languages. So, like, making sure it's in Spanish and in English, just really taking care of who are the fan base and making sure that fan base is seen. Like, she's,
Yeah, actually, this year I noticed that even driving into Dodger Stadium, and good luck tonight to anyone going, because I did receive one of those mass texts from the Dodgers saying, highly anticipated traffic, more than ever, get here early. So good
shocking.
luck to everyone. But on all the signs, directing you where to go in the stadium, they also are in Japanese.
Yeah, so cool. So cool. Like, yeah, I love all those details. And I don't know if she's responsible for that one, but she's responsible for quite a bit. Even just having that the outfield open during batting practice so people can hang out back there and see what's going on. That's Jana Marie Smith. So yeah,
Wow.
bravo to her. Like, so yeah, that's another woman in baseball that inspired me early on. And look what she did. She started a podcast for you. She got you going. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
And the
good.
book you mentioned is a companion book to the documentary, right?
Yeah, so we'll have See Her Be Her, the book that's just being released now. So it actually hits in a few days. So yeah, I'm excited about that. And then there's essays written in the book by women, and Cal Ripken Jr. also wrote. Billie Jean wrote a terrific essay for the book. Very kind of her. Claire Smith, longtime journalist, uh, back in the day, the adversity that she's seen early on as a woman journalist covering baseball was really interesting. And so she tells a great story. And then some of our sheroes, like Kelsey Whitmore, tells her story. Veronica tells her story. And then even some women from the AAGPBL, the All American Girls Professional Baseball League, when men went off to war and women played baseball. That's when we first had like a league of their own. The movie was
Mm-hmm.
based on. So there's still some of those women still alive, and two of them wrote essays in the book talking about their experience
I was
playing.
going to ask if Maybelle Blair was involved.
Yeah, yeah. She fittingly wrote the afterword.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
terrific. So yeah. So oh, Maybelle will be there. You'll see Maybelle. She's coming. Yeah,
Ooh, yay.
yeah, yeah. Now that would be a great podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, I have a whole list for you. You're gonna be busy.
I
Yeah.
can't wait. At first I was kind of nervous to figure out what I was going to do during the off season, but I'm actually really, really excited because having deeper conversations like this there's truly nothing I love more. So,
That's so great.
uh, you're firing me up with all these people that I could potentially talk to.
Yeah, yeah. But it's great to know your history, the women's history, and I learned it by making. I wasn't an expert. I did my research, talked to historians, and now learned all about the first women's college team was in 1866 at Vassar College,
Oh my gosh.
the women's college baseball team. And so the door is opened and closed for us throughout history, but now the door has been blown off the hinges, and here we come. And I think great things are going to happen for women and girls, are already happening, and more to come.
Mhm. Yeah, I just have a couple more questions for you, but one of them, and you kind of just led me there a little bit because when I was just reading about you and your sports photography, what I thought was really cool is how you said learning more about the sport, sets you up for how you take the photos. So I wonder what you've learned about baseball players or athletes in general just from photographing them.
Yeah, I mean it's true. I mean, and it probably I'm sure, well, it has to be the same for you, right? The more you know the sport, for me, the more you know the sport, the more you know the game, the more you know the team, and the more you know the athlete, the better you're going to be able to, the more consistent
Mm-hmm.
you'll get in making the pictures you want to make. I mean, so it's, you can look at Shohei Ohtani and you can know, okay, how he swings the bat, even his batting stance, right? That batting stance.
Oh
He's
yeah,
a
I know.
warrior. He looks like tight, like just it's so powerful. Like that's a picture. Not everybody's batting stance is like that. Some of them
Mm-hmm.
they lean their back, and
Mm-hmm.
look
I
so
can do
good.
all the Dodgers batting stances pretty
Can
much.
you? Yeah, but it makes a difference. And who's going to celebrate. Who's going to be stoic at the end of the game and give you nothing. And who's going to leap in the air and raise their fist. Well, these things are important to know when you're shooting the game. Who leaps when they throw, and they throw the ball the same way. Shohei Ohtani throws the ball the same way every time. His leg goes up the same way. His arm goes behind. His follow through looks exactly the same. And I bet it looked like that when he was in high school. And I bet it looked
Mhm.
like that when he was in grade school. Like he's been throwing like that a long time. So, and the way he hits his follow through, the way he runs, athletes repeat themselves, and
Yep.
great athletes really repeat themselves. So it's knowing that. And then it's the same for their personalities before the game. What is their ritual? They sit in the same place in the dugout. What they do the high five, or they sit by themselves, like who is going to celebrate, who is going to have fun pregame. So knowing all those things help you make the pictures. And then knowing the sport, you have to know the sport. Because if you don't know the sport, you don't know what to look for, right? So I'm shooting a game. Okay, there's a man on first, one out, no outs. I'm at second base waiting for a double play. There's a man on second or a man on third, one out. My camera's pointed at home. I'm hoping for a play at the plate. So you know what's going to happen. When a sacrifice fly might happen. You're waiting for these things to happen. So and becomes a lot easier, and becomes you get, your pictures are better.
Yeah, that's so cool. But you're right. They are really routine based. I mean, you listen to Clayton Kershaw and he's down to the second of his routine. Same thing for years and years, but practice makes perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Clayton Kershaw has this beautiful follow through, and if you get the right light at Dodger Stadium, the way he follows through and the way his legs go up and his body tilts, I could see it in my head so clearly, Clayton. And I could also see him in the dugout and how he sits, the same way and in between innings. And it's yeah, it's very cool to know, as you get to know them, and for you the same, like your Dodgers.
Mm-hmm. I love them. And I'm rooting for them tonight. I'm a little nervous,
What a
but I have all
game.
the
What a
faith in the world.
game. Yeah, I love when it comes down to this. We don't want well, you want blowouts, but like it's great to have you know, let's go.
Oh, I mean, this postseason has been amazing to watch. And I've absolutely loved how players are showing more emotion. And, that is all I want to see. Yes, I love watching the player run around, but I want the dugout reaction. I want to see all the guys cheer on the guy who got the homer. Like that's what I crave and live for. So those photos are really cool to me.
So cool. I agree. It's seeing more emotion is terrific. Look at Otani's emotion.
Oh, I am
It's
just living for it.
It's so cool. And then that's like not, as the Japanese players haven't always been that way, right? It's been more of a stoic, quiet kind of, you're part of the team, don't celebrate individually. And that's changed. I mean, when he was playing for Team Japan during the Classic, the emotion that he showed, it was so fun to see.
Were you there?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Fantastic. Loved seeing him, and the fun he was having in the dugout, it's to see him like that and all that emotion is so great. It adds so much to the game. You're right. The celebration and seeing the reaction. And that's what we do as sports photography. It's action and reaction. What is the
Mhm,
action? What's the reaction of that player? What's the reaction of the dugout? What's the reaction of the fans?
mhm,
Also fun.
mhm. Actually, John Suhu got a really cool photo of me in the crowd at one of the Dodger games. That is like my favorite picture ever.
Yeah, to get John Suhu to take your picture is pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah, best picture
He's
I
a
have.
master. He's incredible. And the relationships that he's made and the things that he's seen over so many years is wow.
You've been going around talking about the documentary and sharing it with so many people. And I wonder, because, this podcast is a longer platform, is there anything that you haven't been asked that you'd like to shed light on?
Mm, that's interesting. What a good question. You got me. the premiere is between games 2 and 3, but we will have a home after this for people to see.
Oh, okay. Where?
So that's a good. That's next.
Oh, okay. Working
I
on
got a
it.
few things to do. I got working on it. Yeah. So, but we will have a home so that we'll, because we also want the film to be seen internationally, but it's just got
Mhm.
to take some time. So we're just finishing it now. We'll have our screening, we'll have the premiere, and then the goal will be that we want people to be able to see it in Japan. We have a big Japanese presence in the film, Korea, South Korea, Canada. So we want to be
Wow.
sure this is and it's being able to be seen internationally as well, and girls and women get to see it there, and everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Talk Dodgers to Me listeners, we will keep you updated on all of that. The See Her, Be Her documentary comes out between games 2 and 3 of the World Series on the MLB network, and it follows 7 women from all different countries playing the highest level of baseball. I'm so excited to see it. And I just want to tell you or ask you, how can we help support all that you're doing, Grassroots Baseball, besides watching the documentary? And then just myself personally and the podcast, we would love to help you in any way.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you. Yeah, well, seeherbeher.com. Take a look at the trailer. We have books for sale. All the books go back into the program. Anything that we do always goes back into Grassroots Baseball. So that's the goal, is to just keep growing and giving back. So, just visibility, I think getting the word out there for people to watch, nothing could be better, because then it moves the initiative along to give the women the platform that we're hoping for.
Perfect. And does the book come out the same day as the documentary?
Book will be out in a few days. It's actually just hit Amazon, so it might actually be available on Amazon. I should say it's available. It's available on Amazon, and it's available at grassrootsbaseball.com or seeherbeher.com. Yeah. So I'll just,
Amazing.
yeah, seeherbeher.com or Amazon. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, Jean, this has truly been amazing and an honor to talk to you. And I can't wait to meet you in person
Oh,
next
honored to
week.
talk to you, what you're doing. Yeah. Cindy did a great job.
I cannot
I'm
wait for her to
impressed.
listen to this episode.
Good for her. Good for you. Yeah, I can't wait to meet you in person. Thank you.
Thank you. And go Dodgers.
Yep, go Dodgers. I'll be watching. This is going to be a great game.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous already.